Welcome to the news for this, the 26th week of 2021. I'm Matt Miller. This is Track Zone. Well, before we get into it, a quick reminder that you can get behind-the-scenes goss and early access to all Trek Zone podcasts by becoming a member today. Click the join button on any Trek Zone video, go to the Trek Zone/support, put your phone up to the QR code on screen throughout the show. Plus, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel or podcast feeds wherever you listen, and leave comments and ratings. Now, on to the news. Simon Pegg has been tapped for a renewed effort to get Galaxy Quest to the small screen. In an interview with the UK Times Emmy-winning writer and producer Georgia Pritchett, she revealed she's working on the TV spin-off with the Kelvin Timeline's Scotty actor. Earlier this year, Sigourney Weaver told Collider that the project had been in mothballs since the death of Alan Rickman. However, she also indicated new activity, quoted as saying, "I think they're finally now reviving it." Tim Allen spoke with EW earlier this year too about the possibility of reprising his role in the 1999 movie. As many will know, Galaxy Quest was a spoof of Trek and its fandom, even appearing on numerous best of Star Trek lists. Well, Adam Malin, co-CEO of Creation Entertainment, spoke with the Trek Geeks about the upcoming 55-year mission convention in Vegas. The now unofficial convention was cancelled last year due to the pandemic, but Malin is confident this year will be just as good as ever, despite continuing concern in the US about large indoor gatherings. Malin confirming that Nevada State and Las Vegas local mandates will be adhered to, with the most significant change expected to be for photo ops. Quote, "That will be a different world than the touchy-feely photographs that we're used to from years past, because it's a different society now and a different era. So expect the photo ops to be different." Malin also spoke about the one-year transition to Bally's, which is a little smaller than the Rio, but one that's a, quote, "fantastic meeting space and a beautiful hotel." The usual home of Creation in Vegas will be back after the Rio's renovation as a flagship Hyatt property. Bad Batch viewers might have been delightfully surprised by this week's guest star. Alexander Siddig, Dr. Bashir, voiced the separatist Senator Singh in the episode titled Common Ground, marking his first appearance in the Star Wars universe. The Bad Batch is going from strength to strength as it flies past the three-quarter mark of the season. Get watching on Disney Plus now if you aren't. Well, tomorrow marks the beginning of Talkin' Science Fest here at Trek Zone. 6 podcasts across 6 days focusing on science and space in Australia. I'm going to be giving you a quick sample now of each chat. First up, David Towney beamed in. He's a Wiradjuri man, and we spoke about the traditional name bestowed on the park's radio telescope for NAIDOC Week last year. I asked him what it meant to the Wiradjuri people.
Well, it means a lot as a local Wiradjuri man. My little community is the main Aboriginal community close by the Parkes telescope, or Mordiang, and the whole area is significant, I suppose, as the reasons why they originally built the telescope in the first place. I suppose the country is a special place. We've got sites close by Mordiang, and the open sky is part of the reason why we chose the name as well, and part of the reason that I suppose the telescope connects to the sky. So when you put all that together, and it's a significant international monument, I suppose, the Parkes telescope, Mordiang, given it an Aboriginal name, actually attaches it back to our people and attaches it back to the country where it's built.
Dr. Bobby Serini is the General Manager of Questacon. We dive into the awesome hands-on exhibits and learning that they allow kids and adults to experience. But where did it all begin?
Well, if you think about the history of science and the way that people have started to engage with it, really back in the 70s, there started to emerge a global movement for more hands-on science. And that followed hundreds of years of the tradition of scientists giving lectures and exploring demonstrations. You might remember there were some great electricity demonstrations done by people like Michael Faraday at the Royal Institution in London. So, over the years, science centres have developed as places of community-based learning, essentially, where anyone is welcome. You can go in, you can get your hands dirty with science, and you can explore some of the fundamental principles, whether it's physics or chemistry, whether it's biology, whether it's mathematics.
Operations team leader Richard Stevenson at Tidbinbilla, the Deep Space Communication Complex, talks about their work, and I asked him about how missions control get in touch with their craft or rover.
Some missions might need that real-time feedback. We have the Chandra telescope, which is obviously a real-time support. They'll send commands. They need to see those acknowledged in their telemetry to send other commands. So that's a real-time support. But we also have supports like Geotel, for instance, where it's a regular support that comes up, and we'll track it. We'll record the data, and then when project comes in the following morning, they can grab it on their PC.
John Sarkissian is the operations scientist at the Parkes Radio Telescope. We'll be heading back there to learn about the dish's operations.
And when it was built, it was the second largest but most advanced radio telescope in the world. And from its very inception, within just the first year alone, it made discoveries that really established its reputation. It discovered the magnetic field of the Milky Way galaxy, for example. It also identified the very first quasar, the most distantly known objects in the universe. And then in December of '62, just over a year later, it tracked the very first interplanetary spacecraft, Mariner 2, when it flew by Venus.
And the last part of Talkin' Science Fest this week is my chat with Southern Launch's CEO, Lloyd Damp. We dive into their recent approval to develop the Whalers Way site for 3 test launches. And in this clip, I asked him what the difference is between there and the Caniba test range, which they have launched from in the past.
With Caniba, it's about suborbital launches. So the rockets go up, out into space, they deploy a telescope or a camera or test a bit of equipment before then falling back to Earth under a parachute. And the key thing being Caniba is out across the deserts. You can go out there and actually collect your telescope after the event and inspect it or download the information from it. Whalers Way is all about getting the rocket up into space and then accelerating it to 11.2 kilometers per second so that it stays in orbit around the Earth. So that's the fundamental big difference between the 2 launch sites.
Talkin' Science Fest coming up this week. Very, very exciting. Well, last week was a hell of a week on Trexzone. We tried to do the Canberra road trip. We managed to get the news at Allectown in New South Wales, country New South Wales. We thought I was doing the right thing by heading down the Newell Highway, Australia's astronomical highway, checking in on Parkes, then getting into Canberra. But unfortunately, the way COVID was spreading, thanks to a bit of inept management from the New South Wales government, it just spread across the country, and we all had to lock down and hunker down to get on top of it. So we came back to the studio and I did 4 That Time When podcasts while I was getting Talkin' Science Fest ready. That is available now for members. So if you are a member or if you want to be a member, click the join button down below on any Trexzone video. And for $3.99 a month, less than a cup of coffee, even in American dollars, it's less than 1 cup of coffee a month, I'm sure. And you'll be supporting the world's only daily science, space and sci-fi podcast network. You can catch all of those podcasts on our YouTube channel or at the Trexzone as well. Trexzone.org is the official website. TheTrek.zone takes you straight through to our homepage. You're not going to want to miss a moment. Subscribe and ring the bell on our YouTube channel. Some awesome content coming up this week. Questacon, Tidbinbilla behind the scenes. That's the first time we've been inside the Operations Centre, so very, very exciting. And of course, Dr. Brad will be here with the news for Talkin' Science. So get subscribed, ring the bell on our YouTube channel, subscribe to our podcast feed in your favourite app, and sign up for the mailing list on our website, of course. That's Trexzone.org. Leave a comment on YouTube too. Let's chat about the stories this week. But for now, and as always, I'm Matt Miller for Trexzone.
Keep up to date with Twitter. Catch new podcasts daily on YouTube. Plus, we're beaming to your favourite podcast app 5 days a week. Just search for Trexzone and subscribe.